Hi everyone. Sorry I'm not turning on my camera this evening. It's been a pretty intense day or two at my job and things are pretty insanely hectic. I'm going to go through the PowerPoint for this evening. I'm looking for another PowerPoint or if trying to figure out how to put one together on Dewey. I personally haven't used Dewey for some time. I mean, I have used it pretty extensively, but it's been a while, so I'm trying to find something that's useful. So I will be recording that in the next day so that you have that for the next assignment. And the next assignment is basically it's the same exact thing as what you just did, except that you're just going to be, doing Dewey instead of Elsie. So I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to do a slideshow here on subject analysis. Subject analysis is just basically the process of ascertaining its aboutness of a document by describing its topic, the discipline in which the topic is treated, and the form of the document. So a discipline is an area or a branch of knowledge. The discipline is distinct from the thing being studied by the discipline. Um, a broad field of inquiry, the context in which any subject is treated. So the subject phenomena is broadly the thing studied by disciplines, and the form is what the document is rather than what it contains. So, intellectual is the method by which the document has been compiled, like the history, biography, textbook, or Festschrift. So a Festschrift is, say, like an edited book of essays in honor of somebody's retirement or something like that. The presentation or manner in which the subject content has been organized, statistical or like a statistical compilation, something like that. The physical form or structure of the document as an artifact, like a book or a video. So subject analysis is the part of indexing or cataloging that deals with the conceptual analysis of an item, like what is it about and what is its form or genre or format, and translating that analysis into a particular subject heading system. So a subject heading is a term or phrase used in a subject heading list to represent a concept, event, or name. So analysis versus indexing is, analysis is looking at the work as a whole to determine its overall contents. So think of terms that summarize the primary subject focus of the work. Indexing provides an in-depth access to parts of items like chapters, articles, or detailed listings of topics. So determining the subject content means examining the subject-rich portions of the item being cataloged to identify keywords and concepts. So, you look at the title, you look at the table of contents, the introduction or preface, the author's purpose or foreword, the abstract or summary, the index, the illustrations, diagrams, and also the containers that hold the item. Types of concepts to identify are things like the topics, the names of the persons or corporate bodies or geographic areas, time periods, titles of works, and the form of the item. And in subjects versus forms or genres, so a subject is what the item is actually about. The form is what the item is rather than what it's about. So like the physical character, like a video or a map or a miniature book, the type of data it contains, like statistics, the arrangement of information, like diaries or indexes, the style or technique, like if it's drama or romances. The genre is the works with a common theme or a setting, etc., like mystery fiction, or comedy films. Important factors like objectivity. So catalogers need to give an accurate, unbiased indication of the contents of an item. So you assess the topic objectively and remain open-minded. You need to consider the author's intent and the audience, and avoid personal value judgments, and give equal attention to works, including topics you might consider frivolous or works with which you don't agree. So, for examples, exercising objectivity, The Big Lie, the Pentagon plane crash that never happened by Terry Mason, which is a 9/11 conspiracy theory versus investigative journalism. So, or like Dawn, the Herald of a New and Better Day, which is a periodical put out by the Ku Klux Klan, or The Silent Subject, Reflections on the Unborn in American Culture, edited by Brad Stetson, which is a pro-life point of view on abortion. Important factors are also cataloger's judgment, an individual perspective informed by the cataloger's background knowledge of the subject or informed by the cataloger's cultural background. Consistency in determining what is it about leads to greater consistency in the assignment of subject headings. What is a controlled vocabulary? From Wikipedia, a controlled vocabulary is a carefully selected list of words and phrases. So the terms are chosen and organized by trained professionals, including librarians and information scientists who possess expertise in the subject area. Controlled vocabulary terms can accurately describe what a given document is actually about, even if the terms themselves do not occur within the document's text. Controlled vocabularies, subject heading lists versus thesauri. Thesauri are created largely in indexing communities, and they are made up of single terms and bound terms representing single concepts, usually called descriptors. Bound terms occur when some concepts can only be represented by two or more words, for example, a type, a personality. Subject heading lists are created largely in library communities and consist of phrases and other pre-coordinated terms in addition to single terms. Translating keywords and concepts into subject headings. So controlled vocabulary thesauri, for examples are the Art and Architecture Thesaurus, or the AAT, which is through Getty. The Thesaurus for Graphic Materials 1, subject terms, TGMI, which is also through Getty, and also Thesaurus for Graphic Materials 2, Genre and Physical Characteristic Terms, TGMIMI, also through Getty, and Thesaurus of Geographic Names, TGN, which I don't remember where that is. Then you have the subject heading lists. Examples are like the Library of Congress subject headings, or LCSH, or the Sears list of subject headings, or the medical subject headings, which are MESH. So this is a full record display. And it's showing you, I think that this is the art and architecture thing. But you can't see it very well because it's kind of cut off here on the slide. So it shows all these like this hierarchical position and this object facet, built environment, that is above like a built environment, a single built works, and single built works, it goes all the way down to whatever. Um, this isn't really a great screenshot, so it's probably worth just looking at the art and architecture thesaurus, which you can just use. I mean, you don't have to pay for it or anything. Um, shows you the Library of Congress online catalog subject authority headings. And this one says like motion pictures. Like, so if you look for just the term motion pictures, when you're within the subject headings search in the um, authorities, then you'll see that it says here authorized references and notes, and then you have like 200,340 records that are bib records that have motion pictures as this subject heading. Um, and you can kind of see how it runs down, but then all of these things don't necessarily, I mean, I guess, I don't know. This I guess this shows here if you have like motion pictures from 1890 to 1900, then you also have like thesaurus for graphic materials TGM1s, subterms, so like these are connected, I guess. But you have to kind of play around with these things. Keywords versus controlled terms, the system should allow for both. Keywords give access using non-standard terms, and they also, when you're searching, they include terms that are not yet in vocabularies, places, or names that are not indexed. The drawbacks to controlled vocabularies is that it takes time to assign, and money, and there's a need for trained catalogers. There is a time lag to add relevant terms and a time lag to delete outdated terms. Why use controlled vocabulary? It's a way to identify a preferred way of expressing a concept, or to allow for multiple entry points like cross references leading to the preferred term, and to identify a term's relationship to broader, narrower, and related terms. Function of keywords, the advantages that they provide access to the words used in bibliographic records. The disadvantages are that they cannot compensate for the complexities of language and expression, and they cannot compensate for context. Keyword searching is enhanced by the assignment of controlled vocabulary. So examples for keyword searching challenges are above all, don't, like, for example, above all, don't flush Adventures in Valorous Living, which is a biography of a single parent, a widow, Gloria Miller. Or Let's Rejoin the Human Race, which is a book on retirement. Or Dawn, the Herald of a New and Better Day by the Ku Klux Klan periodical. Or Phantom Limb, which is a juvenile fiction book dealing with dysfunctional family life. Or Who Moved My Cheese, which is a psychology book dealing with change and adaptability. Um, Subject analysis is the abstracting and indexing of an item's conceptual content. It's a two-step process. Ascertaining the subject, translating the subject into controlled vocabulary, and important considerations include cataloger objectivity, cataloger's background knowledge, and consistency in determining the content. Hold on just a sec. I'm just going to make sure that I'm still recording this. So hold on. Um, okay, we are still recording this. Good. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, so we're going to share again. And we'll continue from there. Um, so controlled vocabularies are in an authority list of index terms and has controls for synonyms by choosing one form to use, like automobile, not car, distinguishes homographs like bridges or bridges in dentistry, and establishes relationships among terms. The LCSH were originally designed as a controlled vocabulary for representing the subject and form of books and serials in the LC collection. Like, so literary warrant is within the LC collection, and that's how like LC classification works. And it was originally for use in LC catalogs. but it's now the global standard for library catalogs and bibliographic databases. And approximately 340,000 headings, or around 10,000 new and around 10,000 new headings are added each year. And approximately 36% of headings are followed by ELSI class numbers. LCSH is an accumulation of the subject headings that have been established at the Library of Congress since 1898 and used in its cataloging. And since 1988, other libraries have contributed subject headings to LCSH as well. In 1869, the catalog of the Library of Congress was the index of subjects. And then in 1898, they decided to switch to a dictionary catalog with subject headings based on ALA's list of subject headings for use in dictionary catalogs. In 1902, they began distributing catalog cards. And then from 1910 to 1914, the first subject headings used in the dictionary catalogs of the Library of Congress was prepared and issued in parts. In 1975, the LCSH was renamed the 8th edition of Library of Congress subject headings published, introducing the full-fledged free-floating subdivision system. And from 1982 to 4, the ALA sponsored regional institutes on LCSH. There was an ALA sponsored, I guess I should say. And the formation of the Cooperative Subject Cataloging Project, CSCP, for enriching LCSH. And there was publication of subject cataloging manual or on subject headings. And in 1986, LCSH converted to machine readable form, and there's a weekly tape distribution service of weekly authority records that began. In 1987, there were printed volumes of LCSH that became an annual publication. In 1988, LC began to welcome subject heading proposals from other libraries and thesaurus notation added to the 11th edition. And in 1989, the first edition of Free Floating Subdivisions and Alphabetical Index was published, and CD Mark Subjects subscription service began. And in 1991, Airlie House Subject Subdivisions Conference convened, and in 1995, the Subject Authority Cooperative Program, or SACO, was formed. In 1996, the introduction of Classification Plus, or the publication of the 5th edition of SCMSH, happened. In 1999, the implementation of MARC subfield code subfield V for form subdivisions began the project to create authority records for free-floating subdivisions. And in 2002, there was the launching of the classification web, and the inauguration of web authorities. And in terms of literary warrant, subject headings are created for use in cataloging and reflect the topics covered in a given collection. The terminology selected to formulate individual subject headings reflects the terminology used in current literature. One heading is chosen to represent a topic. This allows materials about a topic to be retrieved together, even if they contain different terms for the topic. References to headings are made from synonyms and variant forms. Catalog users are guided from their entry vocabulary to the authorized headings. Choice among terms are based on standard contemporary American English language uses, and a preference is given to terms in general use over technical terms or jargon where possible. Vocabulary attempts are made to choose neutral and inclusive or unbiased terminology, especially regarding topics that might be controversial. Each heading in LCSH represents only one topic. If a term could represent more than one concept, it is modified rings of algebra, rings, gymnastics, stilts, birds, or a heading to subdivision combination is created to provide context. So like roads, subfield shoulders, not shoulders that are roads. Terms are coextensive with subjects. In other words, each subject is represented by the most precise term naming the subject rather than a broader or generic term that encompasses it. Exceptions, some terms may be deemed too narrow and therefore not likely to be sought by catalog users. For example, a work on systems librarians is assigned the heading Systems Librarians rather than a broader heading Librarians. A work on low carbohydrate diets is assigned the heading low carbohydrate diet rather than broader terms such as carbohydrates, reducing diets, or weight loss. Attempts are made to maintain consistency in form and structure among similar headings. Because LCSH was developed over the past century, it contains numerous inconsistencies in styles of headings. Individual headings, unless they have been revised, reflect the prevailing philosophy in force at the time they were created. So, consistency in the form and structure of headings promotes predictability for subject heading users. Predictability is enhanced when the terms chosen for a topic are those most widely used to refer to that topic. When headings are changed or new headings established, headings in bibliographic records need to be updated. Changes to headings are made continuously to maintain the currency and viability of LCSH. The benefit of making a change is weighed against its impact on the authority in bibliographic databases and the resources needed to carry it out. So, for example, here are recent changes. Handicapped became people with disabilities, and internet or computer network became just internet, and machine readable dictionaries became electronic dictionaries, and medicine, state became National Health Services, and mountain whites of southern states became Appalachians people. Pre-coordination is combining elements into one heading string in anticipation of a search on that compound topic. So LCSH is primarily a pre-coordinate system. So for example, furniture design to France, France history, 20th century exhibitions. Post-coordination is combining of headings or keywords by a searcher at the same time he or she searches for materials. Many complex or multi-element topics require post-coordination in LCSH. Example, for a work on the architecture of Roman public baths in Roman Britain, baths Roman and Great Britain, or architecture Roman, Great Britain, antiquities Roman. Topics are identified by terms or phrases that represent what the material covers. So headings can also reflect the form of the material. Three general categories of headings are topical, form or genre, or names. A topical heading represents a discrete, identifiable concept. These can be things like China dolls, concepts like gifts are spiritual, and philosophies like determinism or philosophy. So, like disciplines might be nuclear physics, and activities and processes might be skydiving, and organisms, lizards or Escherichia coli, and some types of events might be Hurricane Andrew in 1992 or the Great Fire of Chicago in 1871. Classes of people would be dentists, or ethnic groups would be Kurds. Names of individual animals like Jumbo the elephant, legendary and fictitious characters and places. You got Sherlock Holmes and Shangri-La. Form and genre headings indicate what a work is rather than what it is about. So these headings can identify a form like artist books or Nigerian drama or silent films, or recognize a style or mood like detective and mystery stories or film noir. If the work being cataloged is about a person or a place or a corporate entity, then a name heading is appropriate. The rules for constructing these headings will depend on the type of name. So a biography will have a subject heading for the biography, like Charlotte Bronte. Personal name headings are constructed according to RDA practice. So family names, Casper family, and royal houses and dynasties, Plantagenet House of, are coded 600 field as personal names, but they are constructed according to subject heading cataloging rules. So generally, a corporate body is an organization or a group of persons identified by a particular name, like Indigo Girls Musical Group or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Certain vessels and vehicles are considered to be corporate bodies, like Titanic steamship or Apollo 13, but corporate name headings are constructed according to RDA practice. So works about conferences and organized events can have subject headings for the name of the conference or event. So ALI ABA Conference on Federal Income Tax Simplification would be like John and Lewis and Clark Expedition, Miss America Pageant, or World Cup Soccer. Headings can be assigned for jurisdictional areas and geographic features like Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Grand Canyon, Arizona. If a place name used as a subject has a uniform title or a subordinate body, it is considered a corporate name, like Albuquerque, New Mexico Fire Department. Works about conferences and organized events can have subject headings for the name of the conference or event, like ALI ABA Conference on Federal Income Tax Simplification or Lewis and Clark Expedition from 1804 to 1806, or Miss America Pageant or World Cup Soccer. Headings can be assigned for jurisdictional areas and geographic features, like Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Grand Canyon, Arizona. What happened to this? Why did I get this? I guess maybe it repeated itself. Works about other works may have subject headings that consist of the catalog entry for the work being discussed, like name title heading. Margaret Mitchell, Margaret and her dates and Gone with the Wind, or a uniform title heading like Beowulf. Library of Congress subject headings may be in direct form using natural language or in inverted or qualified forms, like direct form is electric alarms, not alarms, comma, electric. Or single noun headings can represent an object or concept like CD-ROMs, scooters, heat, or love, an adjective or participle noun equivalents like blind or poor. Articles are not in the initial position like arts, not the arts, and articles may be retained for grammatical purposes like state, comma, the, or comma, the. And headings representing objects or classes of people are usually plural, like pencils or physicians. Biological species are usually singular. Higher levels are plural, like bald eagle, western lily, and eagles and lilies. Used when a single noun cannot represent an object or concept, biological rhythms and environmental ethics may be prepositional phrases, figures of speech, quality of life, or adult children of alcoholics. Relationships between topics like church and state, mathematics and literature, or are topics normally treated together, like books and reading or nails and spikes, are basically multiple concept headings. Um, the preposition as can show a particular use of an object or form, like alcohol as fuel, insects as pets, biography as a literary form, or legumes as food. The preposition as can be like authors as teachers, physicians as musicians, or the preposition in, like women in medicine or Asians, Americans in modern pictures, motion pictures. Special applications of a concept, music and advertising, television and education, or a place within a concept like Africa in popular culture or Egypt in the Quran. Used to be more common, like chemistry, organic, or insurance, accident. Current practice, most headings indirect form, inverting headings retained for some categories. Language, nationality, or ethnic group qualifiers like art American, cookery Ethiopian, or headings qualified by time period like history, comma, modern, or philosophy, comma, ancient. More inverted headings can be headings with qualifiers for artistic style like painting Romanesque or sculpture Hellenistic, or some types of fossils like sponges fossil or vertebrates fossil. And then there can also be music headings like choruses sacred or battles, Trebia River Battle of Italy 1799 or Gettysburg Battle of Gettysburg PA 1863 or some geographic headings Mexico Gulf of. Fictitious and legendary characters like Bond James, fictitious character, or Bunyan Paul, legendary character. And then royal houses like Habsburg House of or Windsor House of. Parenthetical discipline or topic, waste, comma, economics, or parenthetical dis category of object like plants, engineering, or plates, tableware. Archival, chemical bonds, or nuclear fission. And then you have all these other possibilities, like these kinds of personal names or prizes or awards or ethnic groups, corporate bodies, historical events, languages, you know, geographic names, religious, philosophical institutions, etc. You can narrow the scope of a heading and bring out specific aspects of a subject. Like, for example, a work discussing pre-colonial Brazil needs more than just the subject, including Brazil, like Brazil history to 1822, and subdivisions may themselves be subdivided. Limit the concept of a heading to a specific subtopic. Many represent actions, attributes, or aspects, may be specific to a single concept or applicable to numerous headings. Sometimes used to bring out, let's see here, where does that say? Parts of the whole, like eyes, muscles, or sports cars, axles. More than one topical subdivision may be used to refine the concept, like fruit post-harvest losses, and then fruit post-harvest losses prevention, and tropical submissions are coded. If a work discusses a topic in regard to a specific location, geographic subdivisions may be used to group together common coverage. So remainders or book selling, Illinois, Chicago. Not all headings may be subdivided geographically, and geographic subdivisions are coded. Headings authorized for geographic subdivision have the designation like may subdivide geographically in LCSH. The income tax, like income tax may subdivide geographically, or water quality may subdivide geographically. In some cases and with some topics, headings are established with national qualifiers to indicate origin or derivation. So may subdivide geographically means the heading may be divided directly by continents, regions larger than countries, countries, and the first order political division of the three countries, like always starting with the US, Canada, Great Britain, states, provinces, and constituent. For a locality within a country, interpose the name of the relevant country between the topic and the locality, such as museums, France, Paris. For a locality in the three exceptional countries, interpose the first order political division. Um, I mean, yeah. Two cities subdivided directly, Jerusalem and DC. So you have education Jerusalem. Indicate the time period covered in the work, usually associated with historical treatment of a topic, like printing history 19th century or Russia social conditions 1801 to 1917, and they're usually used with literary, music, and art headings. Chronological subdivisions are coded Y. What one period subdivision used for dates indicating imprint of work, early works two, and then this person just stuck in early works to 1800. Um, Then you need to indicate what an item is rather than what it is about. The most common form of subdivisions may be used under all types of main headings and subdivisions, like periodicals and biography, and form subdivisions are coded V and are generally the last subdivision in a heading. If a work is about a specific form, the form is treated as a topical subdivision. So, for a bibliography of science periodicals, occasionally two subdivisions are needed to indicate form. So, technology, bibliography, and then periodicals. Generally, use established headings and follow instructions for combining with free-floating subdivisions, placing form divisions last. So two basic orders are place and to topic and then topic to place. Okay. Place and topic are generally used for aspects of a place, its history, politics, economics, and civilization. General order of a subject heading, string of this type with all types of subdivisions, are like these two examples. Used for topical headings that are authorized for geographic subdivision. It's a general order of a subject heading string of this type with all possible subdivisions. So like railroads, Canada, history, 19th century, and then sources. Essential tools and additional resources. You have the approved lists of subject headings available online on a weekly basis, and then the headings manual is available on the cataloger's desktop, and then LC authority file also has free floating subdivisions in alphabetical list. And a syndetic structure is an organization framework in which related names, topics, and other controlled terms are linked to each other via connective terms such as see and see also, but are the thesaural indications BT for broader term, NT for narrower term, RT for related term, USE for use, and UF for use for, like equivalence relationships, hierarchical relationships, and associative relationships. So these link terms that are not authorized to their preferred term. So you need to, it's covered in SHM, the subject headings manual. Then you have synonyms and near synonyms. For dining establishments, use restaurants, and for variant spellings, you say hematology instead of like you use hematology instead of the older way with the HAE. That's actually all one letter, so that's misspelled there. But singular plural variants, salsa cookery, use salsas cookery. And then so you have like variant forms of expression for nine banks. They use non-bank financial institutions and alternate arrangements of terms. You have dogs and breeds use dog breeds. Earlier forms of headings are restaurants, lunchrooms, etc., and now we use restaurants for all of them. You need to link authorized headings and show reciprocal relationships and allow users to enter at any level and be led to the next level of either more specific or more general topic, which are all covered in the subject heading manual at H 370. There's three types of our hierarchical references. There's a genus or species for dog breeds and Shih Tzus and narrower term Shih Tzus. There's a whole to a part like a foot, toes, and narrow term toes to broader term foot. Um, Insurance for a general topic or proper named example. Mississippi River, rivers United States, broader term rivers United States, and narrower term Mississippi River. So then you link two headings associated in some manner other than hierarchy, currently made between headings with overlapping meanings like carpets, um, related term rugs, and headings for a discipline. And the focus of that discipline, like ornithology, related term birds, and headings for persons and their field of endeavor, like physicians, related term medicine, which are covered in subject heading manual H370. Versions of LCSH, you have the MARC distribution service for subject authorities, and there's a database and class web and Library of Congress authorities and a print version called Big Red Books, and that's for the 40th edition, now only online, and then authority files and bibliographic utilities. So then you have the subject headings manual, which is essentially for correct application of LCSH, which sounds strange. Um, well, no, actually it doesn't. It's available in print with subscription for updates. And it used to be that you only had print. It was not available online. So there were like shelves and shelves full of these things. And it was actually easier to use than ClassWeb. It's available on Cataloger's desktop or actually in RDA. RDA subscription. I think that it's available on that. It might now be available on ClassWeb because supposedly some version of Cataloger's desktop is now on ClassWeb, so we may have to take a look at that at some point. But I'm not going to be able to go on after these slides because it's probably obvious I'm falling asleep. And I apologize for that. It provides guidance in determining the subject of a work and selecting appropriate headings and preparing proposals for new subject headings and assigning subdivisions to a heading and assigning headings and subdivisions to special categories of material and works on special topics. The Cataloging Service Bulletin was a former quarterly print publication, but it ended in 2010. But it summarized changes to subdivisions and it included lists of changed and canceled headings and selected new headings of interest. And it was a good source for understanding history of subject headings and sometimes has more in-depth usage explanations. But all the issues are now free as PDFs. There's a cataloging and acquisitions homepage here on the Library of Congress, and it has announcements and policy statements and links to the weekly list of the approved additions and changes and cataloging resources, as well as available products in the cooperative cataloging programs. The free-floating subdivisions and alphabetical indexes has under each subdivision the following information is included about the proper subfield codes, the instruction sheet numbers for free-floating lists and SHM that include the subdivision as well as the subject categories and pattern names, and the instruction sheet numbers in SHM that provide special guidelines on usage of the subdivision. And then there's the principles and application, which has the basic principles of subject cataloging, structure of subject headings, guidance on the use of proper names as subjects, rules for the use of subdivisions and authority control and maintenance, and general principles for assigning subject headings and instructions on handling special types of materials. Then there's also authorized headings and class numbers and references, such as use or use for, broader term and narrower term, and related term and general references, and scope notes. And then here's an entry in LCSH, automobiles. So it says use for autos or cars or gasoline or motor cars, and the broader term is just motor vehicles. We know that's really big. Um, and then you have SA headings beginning with the word automobile and all these other things. And here is an example of when librarians may subdivide geographically. So librarians has like personnel, biography. The broader term is information scientists, and informational employees, and um, uh, related term is libraries, and you can look through this, etc. 3 rules of indexing, a rule of specific entry. So each term is selected to represent a concept that should be coextensive with that concept. Cutter's Rule 161, enter a work under its subject heading, not under the heading of a class which includes that subject. Then there's the rule of exhaustive entry. And then there's the rule of consistent entry. So the searcher can use terms that match the indexers, and both precision and recall are improved. And then there's the choice of preferred terms. Each concept should always be represented by the same term. Right, so you have Cutter's Rule 169 here. And then we have the rule of specific entry. So it follows Cutter, but the terms are constantly changing, and the tendency is towards sequences of subdivisions, and it becomes more and more like systematic rather than alphabetical scheme. And then you also have the choice of preferred terms, and then a choice of citation order. Then we have summarized the contents, assigning headings for topics that comprise at least 20% of the work, and the specificity, assign headings that are as specific as the topics they cover. And then subject headings are chosen to match in specificity the item being cataloged. So like the Rorschach test by John Smith, you have psychology, which is no, psychological test, which is no, but Rorschach test is yes. And then we have the number of headings assigned to each work depends on the nature of its content and the structure of available certain headings. Certain categories of works are generally not assigned any subject headings. Many works are assigned only one heading, and in other cases, multiple headings are required. In general, no more than 10 headings are assigned to any one work. At the Library of Congress, they only allow 3 and no more than that. To remember the major steps in the subject cataloging process, think of the word SLAM. Scan, look for, ask yourself, and mentally compose. So scan the title page, table of contents, preface, introduction, text, bibliography, index, just dust jacket, container, label, and title screen. And look for keywords that describe what the work is about, the form of the work, and the author's intent and audience and viewpoint. And ask yourself, what is this work about? Is there one topic or several? If several, are they interested in relation to each other? Or are they treated in relation to each other? And is there a focus on a particular place, time, or person? And mentally compose a statement this work is about. And then search LCSH and use the hierarchical structure of broader and narrower terms. Use scope notes to help decide whether a heading is appropriate, and then search in library catalogs to find similar works, examine subject headings assigned, and search authority files. General principles for assignment of headings are found in SHM H180. Describes practice followed by the Library of Congress in assigning subject headings to a work, and a library may choose to vary from these practices for local reasons. Assign one or more subject headings that best summarize the overall contents and provide access to the most important topics. And then assign headings only for topics that comprise at least 20% of the work. Okay, so you need to avoid assigning headings that label topics or express personal value judgments, and consider the intent of the author or publisher. And you need to, with periodicals, assign headings that characterize the contents of the resource as a whole. And to an analytic in a set, assign headings that represent the specific contents of the item. And you need to also consider proposing a new heading if no specific heading is found or cannot be constructed or can be constructed. And then you also assign broader headings only when not possible to assign a precise heading or when called for in SHM. If a work discusses a general topic with emphasis on a specific subtopic, assign headings for both if the subtopic represents at least 20% of the work. If a heading represents 2 or more topics discussed and no more, assign that heading, for example, single moms, single dads, help and hope for. The one parent, single parents, not single mothers, and single fathers. If the scope of a work includes more than 3 subtopics, but the work discusses only 2 or 3, assign the appropriate 2 or 3. It may be preferable to assign headings for 4 subtopics of a broad concept. So a heading covers a broad range, and each subtopic forms only a small portion of that whole range. Criticism of an individual author. So LC practice is not to exceed 4. Actually, it's, well, 3, but never mind. A work may discuss a topic for which a single heading does not exist. So some topics call for pairs of headings referred to as reciprocals, like France relations Germany or Germany relations France. The first subject heading should reflect the primary topic and generally correspond to the assigned call number. Other headings should follow in descending order of importance. After completing the subject analysis, asked, do the assigned headings group this work? Do the assigned headings group this work with similar works? Do the headings capture the essence and spirit of the work, and do they capture what is special or unique about the work? Imagine you are a reader and ask yourself, would you look under these headings to find this type of material? And would you be satisfied if you wanted material on this topic and you found this work? And to analyze the subject focus of the work being cataloged, summarize the contents of the work as a whole, bring to the attention of the catalog user the most important topics, and assign headings for topics that comprise at least 20% of the work. So like title, table of contents, introduction, jacket blurbs, bibliography, editorial statement on content or instructions. Within the controlled vocabularies of LCSH, assign headings that are authorized to the authority files. To find the appropriate LCSH headings, search LCSH in print or online, search the authority file, search by keyword online, and catalogs for similar works. And while searching them, follow the hierarchical structure and use scope notes to help decide whether a heading is appropriate. Your strategy may vary depending on your familiarity with the topic. However, you find LCSH headings, be sure to check the authority file to make sure they're valid. And then use the free-floating subdivisions and be guided by the rule of specificity and verify that the string of elements in each heading is logical and verify that the order of the headings reflects the predominant topic. Use valid geographic names as topics in the subdivisions. Recognize when a new subject heading is needed and a proposal must be prepared. And use the instruction sheets in the SHM to guide the assignment of headings for special categories of material and for special combinations of headings for subjects such as biography, folklore, and local history. And after completing the analysis, use the following test questions to check the suitability. Would a researcher look under these headings, and do the headings capture the essence and spirit of the work? So will the assigned headings retrieve the work? Do the assigned headings express what is special or unique? And are the assigned headings misleading about the content of the work? So like here's how to teach your baby math. So you have mathematics, study and teaching preschool, and also you have infants. So this is this biography of Reagan. So in this case, you have a 600. So that's like for individuals, or a 610 would be about a corporation or, you know, an organization of some kind. And then you have 650, President's United States biography. And then you have a 650 about governors, California biography, and then motion picture actors and actresses. So here you have got personal name, corporate name, conference name, uniform title, topical, and geographical title or geographical name. And then two types of authorized subdivisions are established editorially for the use under a particular heading. Free floating may be used under certain types of headings without being established editorially. So an application of established subdivision, you have an example of cataloging the title Film Magic, which describes the art and magic of special effects, and the main heading is cinematography. So you search the heading in LCSH or a subject authority file to find established subdivisions. So these are subdivisions established under cinematography. And then before assigning a free-floating subdivision, consider, is it appropriate under the main heading? Does it conflict with a previously established heading? And is it redundant? And then the form and topical subdivisions of general application, free-floating subdivisions under free specific types of headings, and free-floating subdivisions controlled by pattern headings and multiple subdivisions. Subdivisions on this list represent common concepts or physical or bibliographic forms. Exhibitions, this subdivision may be used under all types of headings: geographic, personal, corporate, title, and topical. Further guidance is given in H 1593. Competitions. This subdivision may be used under headings tagged 150 as well as under headings with other tags that are subdivided by topic subdivisions. It may be further subdivided by place. And lighting, used under types of vehicles, structures, buildings, rooms, installations, etc. And usage is much more restricted here. The subdivision may be further subdivided by place. Separate lists have been developed for classes of persons, ethnic groups, corporate bodies, names of places, names of families, names of places, and bodies of water. Determine whether the main heading fits one of the types. Browse subdivisions on the pertinent list and check the heading subdivision string for conflicts with established headings and consider whether future subdivision is needed. So, for example, proceedings of a conference on diet and performance of soccer players, or main heading soccer players, or which list might we use? So, browse the list for relevant subdivisions. So, the heading so far is soccer players, and then a subfield something. So, you check soccer players and then subfield X nutrition combination for possible conflict with established headings. And then you check the LC subject authority file. And then you find all of this stuff. And then you finally consider the heading string we've constructed, which is soccer players nutrition, and do other aspects of the topic or form need to be brought out, and you consider using geographic subdivision if allowed, or subdivisions from the list of general application. So then you have soccer players, nutrition congresses, and always begins with the list of 3 free-floating subdivisions that fits the main heading. And subdivisions from the general list may be applied to combinations constructed from other lists and main headings covered by another list, like soccer players and congresses would be a valid heading. Some subdivisions are especially relevant to headings in a particular subject category. So to avoid repeating all possible subdivisions under each heading in the category, they're listed under one or more representative buildings, and these subdivisions become free floating under all appropriate headings belonging to the category. Corn is the pattern heading for the category plants and crops, and the list of authorized subdivisions is given in H1180. So the Library of Congress subject headings under the heading corn, authority file under the heading corn. Not that this is very helpful. And they're also authorized under corn, may be used on a free floating basis under individual headings for plants and crops where they are inappropriate. Thus, this heading is valid legumes and seeds and harvesting, because seeds and harvesting has been established under corn. A book on the job market for high-tech workers in the United States, you have the main heading as high technology industries, but which list might we use, which is H1153 industries? Browse the list for relevant subdivisions, and you have high technology industries, and then you check the authority file or LCSH for conflict. And multiples are subdivisions with bracketed terms generally followed by etc. So English language dictionaries, French, etc. So names, personal, Scottish, Spanish, Welsh, etc. The brackets indicate that similar subdivisions may be used without being established editorially. So they do not appear in the authority file, but their language is authorized by the multiples in the previous slide. So you have Swedish language, dictionaries, Norwegian, names, personal, Arabic. And the headings in the name authority file are the names of persons, corporate bodies, jurisdictions, etc., and free-floating phrase headings will have initial word changes or topic or name heading in art, or the name of the city, region, geographical qualifier. Geographical names are divided into two groups, jurisdictional names and non-jurisdictional names. So, countries, municipalities, territories, states, provinces, countries, cities, etc., are headings that are not always in the authority file, but they may be established for as long as they are a good jurisdiction, like Bavaria, London, or Edwardsville. Natural features and man-made structures associated with places like archaeological sites, historic cities, areas and regions, canals, farms, ranches, etc. These headings are usually found in the authority file. Usually we will find the geographic heading that we need in the Library of Congress authority file. If the heading we need is not in the authority file, it must be established using guidelines in RDA. Qualify a geographic heading by placing the name of the appropriate jurisdiction within a single set of parentheses. Abbreviate the qualifier as instructed in the subject headings manual. Qualify subject headings representing geographic entities by the name of the country or countries in which they are located, except for the following. So here's examples of geographic names with qualifiers. And notice that they're in 651 fields, not 650 fields. Use a geographic qualifier, only the latest form of the name of the jurisdiction. And then LCR I 23.2 states which reference sources should be used when establishing names not already in the authority file. If an entity is in two jurisdictions, qualify by both jurisdictions. So like Hoover Dam, Arizona, and Nevada, or Everest Mount. So Mount Everest is in both China and Nepal. Do not use a qualifier for an entity in more than two jurisdictions unless it is necessary to distinguish between two entities of the same name or to clarify an ambiguous term. Direct versus indirect. The heading may be followed immediately by the name of the specific place to which it is limited without the interposition of a subdivision for the larger geographic entity. And indirect, the name of the larger geographic entity is interposed between the heading and the subdivision for the specific place to which the heading is limited. When a subject heading may be subdivided geographically, interpose the name of the relevant country between the heading and the place except for the following three countries. So Canada, Great Britain, and the United States. Do not divide topics geographically to a level lower than that of a city, town, etc., even if the place, i.e., a neighborhood, has been established. Can we add the 651 for the neighborhood, or can add? Authority records can also give information about when to subdivide directly or indirectly. Jerusalem and Washington are assigned accordingly. Vatican City is treated as a country and is also assigned directly. If the heading has been qualified by two places, it is entered directly and is not interposed. Do not divide topics geographically to a level lower than that of a city, town, etc., even if the place, a neighborhood, like a neighborhood has been established. Can add the 651 for the neighborhood, and authority records also give information about when to subdivide directly or indirectly. And then if the heading has been qualified by two places, it is entered directly. And then you have the birds in Hoover Dam in Arizona and Nevada. So four kinds of headings designate the various areas associated with the individual city. And then these headings are defined as the city jurisdiction itself, a designated area consisting of the city itself and those densely populated territories immediately surrounding it that are socially and economically integrated with it. And then you have a suburban area, the territory associated with the city, including neighboring residential areas lying outside the city and nearby smaller satellite jurisdictions, but of the city itself. And then region is an area including the city itself and its surrounding territory. The phrases metropolitan area, suburban area, and region are free floating. They may not be combined with any city. You will not usually find an authority record for these additions. And then there's an exception where metropolitan and suburban areas and regions associated with the cities of Washington and New York are not qualified, even though the cities are. So you have New York, and then you have New York metropolitan area, but you have the Washington and you have Washington suburban area. Except for the metropolitan. Why does this keep going back to the slide? Headings that designate specific regions such as northern, southern, western are not free floating. These headings should only be used when they are found in the authority file. Assign inverted headings that designate regions directly. Chronological aspects of work may be expressed using headings for time periods, with adjectival qualifiers, and with date qualifiers, and with subdivisions. Unexpected starting date, so 2400 or 1800. Unspecified ending dates, like after 1989 or after 1991, or geological time period, for example, and specific century or centuries, and specific date spans or single dates. So specific date spans or specific dates with explanatory words. I mean, yeah. Reflect the contents of the work, not the time of publication, and omit for topics limited to a particular century. Specific dates or spans of time corresponds to generally recognized periods as reflected in literature of the field. Then we have periods established under a country, and period subdivisions for the history of a country are not necessarily exclusive. And then when assigning chronological subdivisions, find the best match for the specific period of time discussed in the work cataloged. Free floating under names of countries, cities, etc., individual corporate bodies, classes of persons, ethnic groups, and topical headings. And bias in indexing languages. Can't tell if this is a bibliography. I think it's a bibliography. So, yeah. Then we have dimension of bias. Ability, age, ethnicity, gender, health, language, nationality, politics, race, religion, sexuality, and then also biased terminology and biased structure. And the omission of topic, lack of specificity, and a treatment of topic as exceptional or problematic, and ghettoization of topic. Negative aspects of bias are limits representation of diversity, further marginalizes already marginalized groups, inhibits retrieval, limits effective library service for diverse populations, influences catalogers and readers' use of terminology. So, language creation and subject cataloging are difficult. Languages reflect values, ideologies of creators. Creators fail to represent diverse perspectives. Creators are slow to respond to identified problems. Catalogers fail to apply languages to capacity, libraries' policies, limit numbers of terms or classes applied, and prescriptive policies are principles of indexing theory, i.e. systematic factors. So factors producing bias focus on user warrant, like Elsie's historical policy doesn't establish uses, it follows it. Terminology should reflect usage in the field, i.e., and it should be that most likely would be used by the intended audience. And then focus on similarity. Cutter's second object of the catalog, collocation, to bring together works that share the most commonalities, but classification privileges are similarity are over diversity. Focus on standardization. Consistency is often treated as the ultimate criterion, but standardization creates homogenized cataloging that ignores differences in local needs. Quest for equality under the guise of objectivity and neutrality. All topics and groups should be given separate but equal treatment, but the librarian's ability is to pursue equity, taking context into account and challenging status quo if necessary. So there should be revision of established standards and creation of new standards and local adaptation of standards, provision of contextualized guides to collections, provision of heuristics for searching, and the use of alternative standards and creative subversive use of standards. And specific, use the terminology that is used in source materials, that is used in self-declared group names, that is used in popular culture rather than clinical or academic literature, and generally treat user groups as heterogeneous. Tailor cataloging to local needs and local contexts, and apply standards fully and accurately and take responsibility. Okay, that's it. So we're finally done with that. That was very long. That was very, 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 very long. Oh my God. I think it was well over an hour. My apologies for like seriously falling asleep while I was talking, because it's long and boring and I lost a huge amount of sleep last night. So I'm going to have to make another video in the next day or two just to talk about Dewey, so that you guys will be prepared for assignment two, and also like to talk a little bit more about some of those like controlled vocabularies and things. So I will be doing that in the next day or two. So I will be in touch and online and see you there soon. Okay, bye.